The email arrived at 4:57 p.m. on a Friday. Please see me in my office first thing Monday morning. No explanation, no pleasantries, just those 11 words from Elena Winters, our notoriously demanding CEO. My stomach dropped as I read it 3 times over, searching for any hint of what I'd done wrong. If you've ever felt that cold dread of being summoned by someone who could end your career with a single sentence, you know exactly what I was going through. Stay with me until the end. I promise what happened next changed everything in ways I never saw coming. Before I dive deeper into the most confusing week of my professional life, take a second to hit that like button if you've ever misread someone's intentions completely. And if you enjoy stories about workplace drama with unexpected twists, subscribe to see more videos like this one. My name is Daniel Chen, and until that email, I thought I was doing pretty well at Horizon Technologies. I'd been with the company for just over 2 years as a marketing strategist, consistently hitting my targets and generally staying under the radar. Elena Winters had taken over as CEO 6 months earlier, and the office atmosphere had shifted dramatically. Gone were the casual Fridays and impromptu team lunches. In their place, strict deadlines, performance reviews, and a palpable tension that followed Elena wherever she went. Elena was brilliant, everyone acknowledged that. At 38, she'd already transformed 2 struggling tech companies into industry leaders. She had piercing green eyes that seemed to evaluate your worth to the company with every glance, and a reputation for being ruthlessly efficient. The rumor mill claimed she'd already quietly let go of 12 employees across different departments. No big announcements, just private meetings followed by security escorts to the exit. That weekend was torture. I combed through all my recent projects, searching for mistakes. Had I missed a deadline? Said something inappropriate in a meeting? I even called my colleague Priya on Saturday, my voice strained as I asked if she'd heard anything about upcoming layoffs. Not specifically, she said, hesitation clear in her voice. But I did notice Elena watching you during the quarterly presentation. She was taking notes. Great. Just great. By Monday morning, I'd barely slept. I arrived at the office 30 minutes early, my shirt already showing sweat marks despite the cool September air. The floor was nearly empty as I made my way to Elena's corner office, my footsteps echoing against the polished concrete floors. Her assistant wasn't at her desk yet, but Elena's door was open. I knocked lightly on the frame, and she looked up from her computer. For a split second, something flickered across her face. Was that nervousness? From Elena Winters? Impossible. Daniel, come in. Close the door behind you. I did as instructed, my hands trembling slightly as I took the seat across from her desk. Her office was minimalist, no family photos, no personal touches beyond a small potted succulent that looked like it was hanging on for dear life. Do you know why I asked you here? She asked, her voice surprisingly soft. I assume it's about my performance, I managed, trying to keep my voice steady. If I've fallen short somewhere, I'd appreciate the opportunity to. Your performance is excellent, she interrupted, looking almost annoyed by my assumption. That's not why you're here. I blinked, momentarily speechless. Oh. Thank you. Then, may I ask what this is about? Elena stood up and walked to the window, her back to me. For a CEO known for her directness, this unusual hesitation made my anxiety spike even higher. I've been observing you for some time now, Daniel, she said finally. Your work ethic, your creative approach to problems, the way you interact with your team. Was this some kind of elaborate preamble to firing me? It's not you, it's the company directions speech? She turned to face me. I'd like you to lead the new product launch campaign. I stared at her, certain I'd misheard. The new product launch was Horizon's biggest initiative of the year, a project typically reserved for senior directors, not mid-level strategists like me. I'm sorry, what? A hint of a smile touched her lips. You heard me correctly. I want you to take the lead. You'll report directly to me for the duration of the project. My mind raced. This made no sense. Why would she bypass multiple layers of management to put me in charge of our most important campaign? May I ask why me? I said carefully. Elena returned to her chair, leaning forward slightly. Because you see things differently. In meetings, while everyone else is nodding along, you're the one with the furrowed brow, thinking critically. You don't speak up as often as you should, but when you do, it's usually the perspective we need to hear. I didn't know how to respond. This wasn't just a compliment, it was the kind of recognition that changes careers. Thank you, I managed. I'm honored, but also surprised. I didn't think you'd noticed me at all. Something changed in her expression then, a vulnerability I'd never seen before. I notice more than people realize, Daniel. The next 2 weeks were a whirlwind. I was suddenly included in executive meetings, given access to confidential market research, and expected to present progress updates directly to Elena twice weekly. The responsibility was exhilarating, but also terrifying. I worked 14-hour days, determined not to waste this unexpected opportunity. What made it more confusing was Elena herself. In group settings, she remained the stern, demanding CEO everyone knew. But in our one-on-one meetings, she was different, more patient, occasionally even sharing a dry joke or personal observation. Once, when I mentioned missing dinner again because of work, she ordered food for both of us, and we ate in her office while discussing campaign strategies. Priya cornered me in the break room one afternoon, her eyes wide with curiosity. What's going on with you and Winters? The whole office is talking. Nothing's going on, I insisted. She picked me for the launch campaign. That's it. Priya raised an eyebrow. She canceled a board meeting yesterday because it conflicted with your presentation. That's not nothing, Daniel. I dismissed Priya's implications, but her words lingered. Was there something more to Elena's interest in my work? No, that was ridiculous. She was my boss's boss's boss, actually. Any special attention was purely professional. It had to be. 3 weeks into the project, Elena invited me to join her for a client dinner after our potential partners canceled last minute. No sense wasting the reservation, she said casually. And we could use the time to refine the messaging strategy. The restaurant was upscale, the kind of place with no prices on the menu. Elena arrived wearing a simple black dress instead of her usual tailored suits, her dark hair falling loose around her shoulders. She looked younger, less severe somehow. After ordering wine, our conversation drifted away from work for the first time. I learned she'd grown up in a small town in Michigan, had studied abroad in Japan, and played competitive chess in college. She asked about my family, my interests outside of marketing, and laughed genuinely when I told her about my disastrous attempt at making sourdough during the pandemic. You know, when I first took this position, the board warned me about you, she said after our main course arrived. I nearly choked on my water. About me? Why? They said you were too idealistic. That you pushed back too much on conventional approaches. She smiled. They meant it as a criticism. I saw it as exactly what the company needed. As the evening progressed, I felt increasingly confused. This didn't feel like a work dinner anymore. There was an undercurrent I couldn't quite identify, a tension that wasn't unpleasant but wasn't entirely comfortable either. When we left the restaurant, she suggested walking for a bit despite the cool evening air. We strolled through a nearby park, our conversation flowing easily now. At one point, she stopped walking and turned to face me. Daniel, I need to tell you something, and I'm not sure how to say it professionally because it isn't professional. My heart hammered in my chest. Was I about to be fired after all? Had this whole project been some elaborate evaluation? The truth is, she continued, her confident demeanor faltering slightly, I developed feelings for you that go beyond our working relationship. I know that's inappropriate given our positions, and I've tried to ignore it, but... Wait, I interrupted, genuinely shocked. You have feelings for me? Romantic feelings? She nodded, looking more vulnerable than I'd ever seen her. I understand if this makes you uncomfortable. I can arrange for you to report to someone else for the remainder of the project, and this won't affect your position or future at the company either way. I stood there, speechless, as weeks of interactions suddenly appeared in a new light. The private meetings, the special assignments, the dinner, none of it had been about firing me. Quite the opposite. I thought you hated me, I finally said, a nervous laugh escaping. That first email? I spent the entire weekend convinced I was going to be fired. Elena's eyes widened. The Monday meeting? I was terrified too, but for entirely different reasons. I'd never promoted someone so directly before, bypassing the usual channels. I was worried about how you'd react. We stood there in the park, both laughing at the absurdity of our misunderstanding. The relief of not losing my job mixed confusingly with this new revelation. I don't know what to say, I admitted. This is unexpected. You don't need to say anything now, she replied. Take some time to think. Whatever you decide, your position is secure. I promise you that. The next day at work was surreal. In meetings, Elena was the consummate professional, giving no indication of our conversation. But I caught her glancing at me when she thought I wasn't looking, a question in her eyes that I wasn't sure how to answer. I spent days weighing the complications. Office relationships were tricky enough without adding a power imbalance this significant. What would colleagues think? Would they assume any success I achieved came from favoritism rather than merit? But there was something else too, a connection I couldn't deny. In those private meetings and conversations, I glimpsed the person behind the CEO persona. Someone thoughtful, complex, and surprisingly vulnerable despite her outward strength. After a week of deliberation, I requested a meeting with Elena. Her assistant showed me in, and I found her standing by the window again, tension visible in her shoulders. I'd been thinking about what you said, I began. And? Her voice was carefully neutral. And I think we should have dinner again. Outside of work. To talk about what this might look like, if we decided to explore it. The smile that spread across her face transformed her completely. Not the calculated smile of a CEO closing a deal, but something genuine and hopeful. I'd like that very much, she said. We agreed on boundaries immediately. At work, our relationship would remain strictly professional. She arranged for me to report to the marketing director for performance reviews and compensation decisions to avoid conflicts of interest. We would disclose our relationship to HR, following company policy to the letter. 6 months later, the product launch was a remarkable success, exceeding sales projections by 43%. I was promoted to Director of Strategic Initiatives based on the campaign's results, a promotion that went through a committee review to ensure there was no favoritism involved. And Elena? She remained the demanding, brilliant CEO everyone respected. But now I knew the woman behind the title, the one who sent me silly memes late at night, who had a secret passion for science fiction novels, and who had taken the biggest risk of her career not on a business decision, but on being honest about her feelings. Life rarely unfolds as we expect. Sometimes the things we fear most, like that dreaded Monday morning meeting, turn out to be the beginning of something wonderful. The email I thought would end my career actually opened the door to the most meaningful relationship of my life. If you've ever completely misread a situation or found connection in an unexpected place, leave a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories about the surprising ways our lives can change when we least expect it. Because sometimes, what looks like the end is really just the beginning.